Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really important law that every single job seeker in Taiwan should know about, the Employment Service Act. Think of it as the official rule book for your job hunt. And, knowing the rules is always the first step to winning the game. So, when you're out there looking for a job, it's not just about sending out resumes and crossing your fingers. You actually have a whole set of legal rights that are there to protect you, to make sure you're treated fairly, and to kind of level the playing field. Honestly, understanding these rights isn't just helpful, it's probably the most powerful tool you've got. So, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to walk through the whole job search journey step by step. We'll start with the rule book itself. Then we'll get into your rights when you're looking at job ads, the red flags you need to watch out for, the different kinds of help you can get, and finally, what happens when people don't play by the rules. Okay, let's dive right in. First up, the rule book itself, the Employment Service Act. So, what is this act all about? Well, at its heart, it's built on two really simple but super powerful ideas. First, everyone has the right to be treated equally when they're looking for a job. And second, you have the total freedom to choose what you want to do for a living. It's basically the legal foundation for fairness and choice in your career. All right, let's get practical. You've opened up your laptop and started scrolling through job ads. This is where your rights really kick in, especially when it comes to something we all worry about, discrimination. Okay, I know this sounds like a totally silly question, right? But it gets to a really important point. Can an employer actually make a hiring decision based on something that has absolutely nothing to do with your ability to do the job? The answer is a huge, definite no. The law is incredibly specific about this. Of course, it covers all the things you'd expect, like race, gender, and age, but it goes way further, and it actually bans discrimination based on your constellation, your star sign, and even your blood type. The message here is simple. If it has nothing to do with how well you can do the job, it cannot legally be used against you. Period. And it's not just about who you are, it's about what the job is. The law also demands total honesty in job ads, so an employer can't post something that's just plain false. The job, the duties, the pay, what you see in the ad should be what you actually get. No bait and switch tactics allowed. And speaking of honesty, this one is a real game changer for salary transparency. The law is crystal clear. For any job that pays less than 40,000 new Taiwan dollars a month, the employer must list the salary range in the advertisement. This totally ends the guessing game. So if you see an ad for a job in that pay bracket and there's no salary listed, that's an immediate red flag. All right, let's say you've found an honest ad, you've applied, and boom, you've landed an interview. That's awesome. But this is the stage where you need to watch out for a whole different set of red flags, because the law is very, very clear about things an employer is just forbidden from doing. These are the big ones. An employer cannot take and keep your ID card or other personal documents. They can never force you to pay a security deposit or a bond. They can't design you to do something illegal. And, this is a huge one, they can't demand private information that isn't directly relevant to the job. These rules are here to protect your stuff, your safety, and your privacy. So what exactly counts as private information that's off limits? Well, the rules actually break it down for us, which is super helpful. It's basically split into three categories. First, physiological info, so things about your body, like genetic tests or your HIV status. Second, psychological info, like lie detector tests. And third, your personal life info, like your credit history or asking if you plan on having kids. Unless it is absolutely vital for that specific job, these topics are completely off the table. Now, a lot of us don't go through the job hunt totally alone, right? We might use an employment service for help. But it's really important to know that there are two main types, and they operate in very different ways. So on one hand, you have public employment services. Think of these as the government-run helpers. They are totally free to use, and they're focused on the big picture, helping people find work through things like career counseling and training. Then, on the other hand, you have private employment agencies. These are businesses, right? They're for-profit companies that focus more on recruitment for their clients. They can charge fees, but, and this is key, those fees are strictly regulated. And this right here is probably the most crucial thing to remember if you use a private agency. They must have a government license to operate, and they must sign a written contract with you. This is for your protection. It ensures they're legit and that your agreement is clear and legally binding. So always, always check for that license. So we have all these great rules designed to protect us, but what if an employer or an agency breaks them? What happens then? Well, this law isn't just a friendly suggestion. It has real, serious consequences for anyone who violates it. And I'm not talking about small slaps on the wrists here. The law backs up these rules with some pretty significant financial penalties that are designed to be a powerful deterrent. Let's actually look at the numbers. Remember that whole thing about not being rejected because you're Scorpio? Well, if an employer gets caught doing that or any other kind of discrimination, they could be facing a fine of up to 1.5 million NT dollars. That just shows you how seriously the law takes equality in the workplace.
And what about those who try to operate outside the system, acting as an unlicensed agent or illegally hiring someone? The law cracks down hard on that too, with penalties that can go up to 750,000 NT dollars.
Now, this one is especially powerful. If a private agency tries to rip you off by charging you more than the legally allowed fee, they can be fined up to 20 times the amount they overcharged you. It's a massive penalty specifically designed to protect job seekers from being exploited financially. Okay, I know that was a lot of information, so let's just boil it all down to the 4 key things you absolutely need to remember. 1. Discrimination is illegal. Your skills matter, not your personal traits. 2. Your privacy is protected. You don't have to answer those invasive questions. 3. Never, ever pay a security deposit. And 4. Stick with official services, either the free public ones or a licensed private agency. So, knowing your rights is the first and most important step. The next step is using that knowledge. Because every time you spot a non-compliant job ad, or you refuse to answer an improper question, or you choose to work with a legitimate service, you're not just protecting yourself. You are actively helping to build a better, fairer, and more respectful job market for absolutely everyone in Taiwan.